to try to get a professorship somewhere.
Have I not been sharing my camera the whole time?
Nope, there you are now.
Well, I feel really stupid now.
Welcome to the Mechanical Room. A Centrotherm production focusing on all things in and around the HVAC industry. And now, your hosts, Michael Sakaris and Matthew Price.
Welcome back to the Mechanical Room, and we have a special edition interview here coming live from Ontario, Canada. Mr. Matt Waxer, the HVAC doctor himself, joins us here for a little chat on the Mechanical Room, and we're gonna dive into a wide array of topics. I know nothing about what Mr. Waxer's main area of expertise is, so we're gonna dive a little bit deep into refrigeration because I don't know shit about this. Ty, another A-team member, the Ice Master, was on recently as well. We talked a little bit about refrigeration, and I'm curious to just hear a little bit about this industry that is sort of foreign to a heating company such as Centrotherm. So, Matthew, welcome, sir. How are you?
Thanks for having me on, Matt. From one Matt to another, it's an honor to jump on the Mechanical Room and shoot the breeze about some HVAC, refrigeration, and whatever else we get into today, sir.
Indeed. Do you prefer Matt or Matthew? I called you Matthew there. I think you go by Matt most of the time.
I go by whatever you want to call me. Usually I go by Matt. Matthew also works. The whole pun thing of doc also works, given the education background.
Yeah, I always get that as well. Do you prefer Matthew? Do you prefer Matt? I'm like, just don't call me an asshole unless I really deserve it. And then other than that, it's pretty much good to go. So
exactly.
So, excellent. Doc, I'm going to go with Doc because I like that one. It's very clinical, sir. We're here for an appointment. I'm a little early for my 11:15, but thankfully the doctor has seen us here. And okay, so let's just jump right into the weird technical stuff, and we'll come back to an array of stuff. You were with us in Miami. You're wearing the tactical stuff. You're a member of the A-team. You've got bona fides and social media credibility and the red seal up the wazoo and the whole nine yards. So you're well established and all that. So I want to get your perspective on whatever this A2L thing is. Can you give us a 10,000 view of 10,000 foot view of why, the what? Let's go through like the what, the why, the where, the how kind of stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. So if I do get a little technical or overly technical, just pause me a second here, Matt, and we'll try to bring it down to another comparison that might be easier to understand.
Perfect.
So the industry for the past, good 2+ years has been going on and on about transitioning refrigerants to A2L refrigerants for certain application.
What does that even stand?
A2L is a rating classification for refrigerants. So refrigerants can be broken across two letters, A and B, A being non-toxic and B being toxic. So for example, ammonia, anhydrous ammonia, is a toxic refrigerant that will kill you pretty much if you're exposed to good amounts. And so we've got the A and the B part down so far. You good with that, Matt?
I do.
Perfect. So now the numbering system refers to flammability.
Okay.
So a A1 refrigerant, like 410A, which is a common refrigerant currently used that's being phased out in air conditioning applications across residential and commercial industrial, where I focus my work in commercial industrial. So our 410A is classified as an A1 refrigerant. It's technically non-toxic and it's non-flammable. Now, if you're exposed to enough R410A, that can pose problems within a room because it can displace the oxygen within the room, like any other refrigerant. So you'd suffocate.
But a poisonous gas overall, or it's not oxygen.
Technically non-poisonous gas.
However, not
non-flammable.
Not replacement for an oxygen in your bloodstream.
Exactly. So if you replace the air in a room with a chemical, displace the oxygen in the room with a chemical, well, and you're in the room and you're going to try to breathe, well, you're kind of SOL at that point. You're shit out of
So
luck.
let me
Pardon my language.
sub question then.
Yep.
Because I've got this all so far, but now that you bring this like in my head, I've got you kind of wearing like a respirator. Do you use have you ever had an application in which you needed to use oxygen? Do you use a mask of some sort with any great frequency?
No,
No.
I haven't. In the work that I do, no.
Okay.
I
Is that
haven't had.
unheard of? Is that a thing that might happen?
It could, depending on the situation at hand.
Okay.
So for example, let's say there was a large industrial or large chiller that has thousands of pounds of refrigerant. Now, the mechanical rooms these are in, if there is a refrigerant leak, there's refrigerant monitoring systems that if they detect refrigerant, it's supposed to bring on an exhaust system. However, if something malfunctioned and there was still refrigerant in the room, perhaps scuba apparatus, scuba
Okay.
gear would have to be, worn by a technician to go into the room to ventilate the refrigerant out of the room. That is a very rare occurrence. It doesn't really happen that often, but it's something that could potentially happen.
It's wow. Stay away from that stuff for the sake of your family and your kids and whatnot. Let's keep you
Exactly.
breathing the real oxygen naturally.
Yes, sir. So going to the numbering system of the refrigerant classifications, one would be non-flammable refrigerant, two is flammable, and three is highly flammable. So for example, propane is used in some kitchen equipment and fridges. So R290 is its refrigerant number, and that's classified as an A3 refrigerant. So it's a highly flammable refrigerant, but again, technically non-toxic.
Where do they draw the line between 2 and 3? Right, I understand
Yep.
non-flammable. I think we consider something like water, milk, orange juice,
Yep. The
non-flammable.
temperature at which a component will ignite at.
I this kind of stuff, and this is not on you. It's on
Yep.
me. So ignorant about that sort of stuff. That makes such perfect sense. I feel like a jackass even asking that question. Like it's
Nope.
more flammable because it like lights on fire that much more easy.
Well,
that's pretty much the simple
think
answer,
of
right?
yeah. So think of propane and natural gas as an example. So propane and natural gas, you see, you get exposure to it within the heating industry. So you may be somewhat familiar with it.
Yeah.
So propane has a higher heat content than natural gas, and they have different lighting off temperatures, different lower limits of flammability and upper limits of flammability. So the points at which different refrigerants are, prone to ignite dictates where they're classified on the numbering system in terms of their flammability.
All right, that's fascinating. In my head, I'm thinking like Sambuca lights on fire, but it's not like highly flammable.
Exactly.
Sambuca is less flammable than say the gas I'm putting in my car, regular unleaded versus
than the gas vapor.
Exactly.
So,
all right. Okay. So I got
going
that.
right to the A2Ls. So A2L is a kind of new-ish classification. So the L just stands for lower flammability. So the new refrigerants that we're seeing coming out are the two predominant ones we're going to see in the industry are going to be a refrigerant called R32, and the other leading candidate is going to be non-toxic classification. The 2L, it's not quite as flammable as an A2 refrigerant, but it's still within that kind of wheelhouse. It's just at a lower level of flammability to light off these refrigerants. And they do require very specific conditions to actually ignite the refrigerants. It's not that anybody should be losing their mind, freaking out that, we have this flammable refrigerant going through a house or a building, and it's going to be, catastrophic if it leaks and everything's going to blow up. No, not even remotely close.
So
There's much more flammable stuff going through a building.
Okay, that all makes sense to me.
Yep.
I guess a sub question. I have a lot of follow-up questions because we're still just working on the definition here. But I'm curious because I want to wrap my head around the whole situation. So people aren't like losing their shit or freaking out and whatnot. Are some people, and I mean across the channel, like meaning like, are there some contractors who are highly against this? Are there wholesale distributors who are fighting back against this? Are there pro-environmental people who are saying it doesn't go far enough? Is it, is all of those true?
I think I don't think that it's a fight back on, distributors or manufacturers. I think that there's a lot of misinformation out there about the transition to these refrigerants that companies are telling the end users. So whether that be a building owner or a house owner. And that is potentially used as scare tactics from what I've seen. But there's a number of great educators out there that are doing a wonderful job, debunking these myths. So people like Ty Brenneman from ESCO Group is doing a fabulous job educating people about the transition. Craig Migliaccio, Don Gillis from Chemours Group, who Chemours actually is a refrigerant manufacturer. So finding the right people to get the appropriate source of information regarding this transition is going to be something essential to do to move forward to break down the stigma around this change, because ultimately it's going to happen whether you want it or not. And some people are just resistant to change, which is a natural human tendency. But we have no option but to move forward with these new refrigerant changes because of the Montreal Protocol, which dictates phasing out of higher global warming potential refrigerants, which we can dive into that bit next once you're cool and all good with the numbering classifications.
So I'm going to keep asking follow-ups as part of this to get like a whole picture, right? So, and before I even get into that, I want to say you named Ty Brenneman, you named Craig Migliaccio. These are legends of the field here, and I want to put you right up there alongside them as someone who I definitely can trust with information about this sort of stuff. And you are on here doing a very similar service than those guys are doing, explaining what it is that's going on here to lay people, jackasses like myself who don't know anything about this type of stuff. So I guess one basic question is, if you had to are there winners and losers in this whole thing? And if so, who would say that they're on the losing side of this, and who would say that they're on the winning side of this? Or am I attempting to create a humanistic binary where it's a zero-sum situation? Because A2L comes through, some other thing has to lose, let's say. Are there winners and losers in this at all?
I don't know if it's necessarily as simple as a dichotomous, categorization between winners and losers in this. I guess one could classify a losing category in the sense of a technician who's completely opposed and resistant to learning about what's going to happen with the transition and
that's
change.
The key part is learning, not necessarily that it's the actual transition itself. It's just they've been doing it XYZ way for so many years that they have a reticence to adopt new technology. So really, that might be the same sort of mentality they share over any element of technology that would be new to them.
Absolutely. Okay. So I completely agree with that.
Okay.
Right.
Okay. So that makes sense to me.
I've been in this refrigeration HVAC game long enough to have seen the phase out of R22, which I still have R22 in my air conditioner at my house, just because the refrigerant has been phased out, because R22 was an ozone depleting refrigerant if it leaked into the atmosphere. So that would cause a refrigerant that would contribute to holes in the ozone. I still have that operating perfectly fine, leak-free at my house, and there's no need for me to change that system out until it fails.
But are those So you obviously, you being someone who has expertise in this, you're not the average homeowner. Let's assume that your systems are running a little better than mine because I don't know what the hell I'm doing, right? Is
Well,
there
you'd be
a point?
surprised. I'm a HVAC mechanic. You think I have time to work on my home system?
Well, that's also a fair point. Um, the if because it runs on the older or the phased out refrigerant,
Yep.
is there a time in which you're going to not be able to obtain the chemicals necessary to keep that system running? And at that point, do you have to upgrade your air conditioner?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There'll become a time where you know, just acquiring the refrigerant won't really be um, available,
Possible.
won't be
Yeah.
manufactured anymore.
Okay.
So, for example, like R12, way back before my time, well, not really way back, but just before my time, is you can't purchase it at refrigerant wholesalers.
Okay.
The phase out of R22 saw the price of R22 skyrocket. So they're basically making it very, manufacturers and industry have made, and government made it so that the cost benefit of repair wasn't an option because it's been priced out of the market. And they've also stopped manufacturing components for that refrigerant as well, for the most part. So
Who are
the
the main
industry is going to
players?
move forward to that.
Who are the main? Just rattle off just a couple of company names, I suppose, who are manufacturing these refrigerants. Is that something that's like New Calgon, that type of thing?
Well, New Calgon manufactures more service-related products, so like cleaning chemicals
Oh, okay.
and products of that nature, or even like install components for different applications. But in terms of like big names in the refrigeration game that manufacture, say, a compressor for a refrigerant system, those would be companies like Copeland like Copeland Emerson,
Sure, sure.
or Bitzer, Danfoss
Danfoss,
are
never heard
the
of.
main compressor manufacturers that I see in the equipment that I work on. There's others out there as well. It's just they're built for different applications.
Okay.
Then there's companies that make the valves and other components in the system.
Sure.
So, for example, Sporlan is a massive name in the industry for making things like thermal expansion valves and other like filter dryers and other components that go within a refrigeration system.
These are all names to me that are all sort of like floating in my, in my head, but because we don't, I mean, I'm much more familiar with like, say, tankless water heater manufacturers. So
Yep.
it's interesting because Danfoss is obviously huge, and I've seen them. I've walked past their booth many times in various trade shows and stuff like that. So I appreciate educating me on what these people actually do, because I genuinely don't know sometimes, especially if it's not in my particular niche heating, like my corner of the mechanical room. And really, actually, for Centrotherm, it's more like in between the floor joists on the way out of the house, not even in the mechanical room. So,
Yeah. Well,
um,
it's for anybody in the industry. You can't, steal a friend of mine's social media handle. There's no way to know it all. You cannot be an HVAC know-it-all. Sorry, Gary.
that's
Um,
Gary's actually a veteran of this. He's been on our
yeah,
podcast as well. So he's another
Gary's a
great guy and a
great
fine
guy.
man of Ontario, just like yourself. So
Yeah,
actually, let's dial it back. Let's talk about how you became the doctor, sir. So
yeah, for
I
sure.
know you are one of the rare multi-degreed folks that are out there in this field as well. In particular, you hold the coveted Ph.D. Let's go through your educational resume, because when people throw around doctor pretty loosely, and that ain't the way it is for the HVAC doctor who's got the paper to prove it. So
Yeah.
what's the PhD in? What's your beginnings of your education like? Did you feel as this was your path? Obviously, going to grad school and stuff like that, typically HVAC technician, refrigeration expert is not usually what comes out on the other end of that. So
No, it doesn't.
your path through, starting with the education and to where you ended up today, holding the degrees and the red seals that you do,
Yeah.
because I think you have a bit of a unique path compared to the average technician.
Yeah, I'm not your average bear, so to speak, but I just took longer to get into HVAC than most.
Fair enough.
So my my late father was of the mindset that the more education, better education you have, the better you're going to be uh, moving forward into a career. So he was a university professor and a clinical psychologist.
Professor of
And
psychology
yep,
at what school?
at York University in Toronto.
Lovely.
And he beat into my head that you have to be successful in a career, you have to go to college or university. So went off to university, and at 18, 19 years of age, you have no clue what you want to do. So I'm like, well, my father's a psychologist. I'll do an undergrad major in psychology, and maybe I'll find something that I like. So doing that, I found an area of research psychology that I really enjoyed was neuroscience, neuropsychology. And I enjoyed researching what parts of the brain were involved in multitasking and error processing while recognizing when you make a mistake. And throughout my undergraduate and then subsequent graduate career, I spent a lot of time looking at how these parts of the brains interact with each other across developmental time, from being a child to a teenager to an adult. And it was going along pretty swimmingly till about halfway through my doctorate. And there was a fundamental change in the retirement structure for university professors, which was what I was aiming to be.
Huh.
So retirement at 65 went bye-bye out the window. And now you have professors in their 80s, 90s in labs that, you know, they would have been retired previously. So it caused a large, backlog and influx of grad students waiting for a potential job as a professor. Well, I was not in the really position to, you know, wait to try to get a university professorship. I was engaged, and my wife's an elementary school teacher. I wasn't about to uproot her and travel around the world doing postdoctoral fellowship after postdoctoral fellowship to try to get a professorship somewhere.
Have I not been sharing my camera the whole time?
Nope. There you are now.
Well, I feel really stupid now. I'm looking at this being like, what I'm so sorry. I apologize on that one. That's going to be really awkward. They're going to have like a photo, like when we post this now,
It's
there'll be
just going
like
to be me
a
talking.
photo of me until for about 16, 17 minutes.
It's all
God,
good.
this is why Jordan. This is why I need you, sir. He's not here. This is why I need Jordan to correct my dumb errors. I can't believe that I didn't share my webcam. I'm so sorry. I even set up like a nice little room over here. So
Don't
sorry.
worry. It's my fault for pushing us to do this podcast today, anyways.
Not a problem. So at least we have it figured out now. I feel kind of stupid. But it is what it is. So okay. Anyways,
It's all good.
influx of or professors are now not retiring
Yep.
at the rate
So
they need to be. Thus, the jobs are less abundant. Let's say.
exactly. Yep.
Was
So
that like the main linchpin then?
that was pretty much the main linchpin. And I was engaged, I'm going to settle down, get married, and dragging a wife around the globe while I do, a year or two of postdoctoral fellowships at different universities in the hopes to land a job as a professor, wasn't keen on my list of things to do. So as I wrapped up my PhD, I've always worked in the skilled trades. So my uncle is a master carpenter, and I worked with him, when I turned 12, 13 years old, till into my 20s. So as I was wrapping up my PhD, I went back into doing carpentry for a little while. Realized after, a year and a bit of that, well, carpentry is all good and dandy. It's not something that I can see myself making a career out of. So I had a friend who was a gas fitter who said, hey, how about you try out gas fitting? So that was my into the HVAC industry.
Okay.
Went and did night school to get a gas fitter ticket.
Did you instantly? Did you take to that instantly? Like, I mean, carpentry is amazing. And honestly, right now, I don't know what it is, but Instagram really wants me to see all this amazing woodworking stuff that's going on. Like, I've been fed nothing but, it's amazing. And I watch it all, which is why the algorithm continues to keep giving me this stuff, but like intricate woodworking stuff. But I can understand someone like you, is that not was it not technical enough for you? Was the gas fitting element, which has chemistry and all this other stuff, did you take to that instantly because it's higher stakes or deeper learning curve or something like that?
It was, for me, it's more of problems on multiple different levels.
Okay. That goes back to the
So
multitasking study.
exactly. So I get bored pretty easily. Um, I like to have multiple challenges across multiple fronts. So if I was doing carpentry, sure, it's measurement issues or differences in what material am I going to use for a job. But at the end of the day, you're cutting and carving wood. Whereas as a service technician in the HVAC industry, there's days where I'm on torches. There's days where it's all electrical. There's days where it's all computer programming. There's a whole litany. Some days it's all of those combined.
What's your
It,
favorite?
all of it.
You like the days where it's a mix, or
It's
does the disparity keep it fresh so that you're not bored of one thing and the next day is a new challenge and thus it's all fresh to you essentially?
it's each day is a different challenge, and each day presents new issues, and sometimes those transfer over to the next day and the next day. And figuring a way through them is something challenging and rewarding for myself.
Interesting. So I guess the next question then I have, actually, I want to hear a little bit more about the Red Seal process as well, because
Yep,
we
for
see
sure.
these. I'm looking at your stickers on my wall on the thing over there. I see I got Jason Norman's Red Seal sticker in. We we spread the stickers on the wall geographically, so he's out over here in BC and you're over in Ontario area and whatnot.
Nice.
But I really like the stickers themselves. So not only are they cute, I know you use like the Bitmoji, what have you, so they're adorable, but they carry a certain power as well, or at least are indicative of a very important certification.
Yep.
Is certification the right word to describe that?
Yep, that'd be the right word for it.
So can you maybe for our American listeners go through what is a red seal, how do you get it, and what does it symbolize or certify for the holder?
For sure. So before we get exactly to that, we'll wrap up the whole gas fitting side of things. So kind of set the stage, gas fitting and air conditioning refrigeration licenses where I work in Toronto, Canada, and for the vast majority of Canada are separate. So my gas fitter ticket is not a Red Seal ticket. It's specific to the province I work in. So the US equivalent of a province is a state. So my gas fitter ticket is only good here in Ontario. If I want to go work in Vancouver on gas-fired appliances, I'd have to apply for an equivalency to work as an A class ticket.
How different are the rules? Could you
Not
walk into
overly different.
Vancouver, kick the door down, and just pass that test no problem, or is there going to be other things that you got to learn about to get to get the Vancouver one?
That's a good
BC
question.
one, rather.
I've never had to undertake it as a process. So if and when I ever do, I will let you know.
Yeah, I'm curious about that because I mean, I would imagine, safety and the general rule. I mean, like if I'm selling a refrigerant into Canada, it's no different if I sell it to you in Montreal, then I send it to you in Winnipeg, then I send it to you in, in Surrey or something like that. So is that a Canadian government handcuff that you're dealing with that kind of stuff, or
For the gas fitting side,
just for the reason that you need to be certified by province?
that's only for the gas fitting side
Oh,
of
okay.
things. So that's not for the refrigerant, not for the refrigerant and AC side of things.
Okay.
So there's different governing authorities for the gas fitter side across provinces.
Gotcha. Okay, that makes sense.
The refrigerant and air conditioning side. So I'm a licensed gas fitter 1, which means I can work on natural gas and propane fired appliances without any BTU limit or capacity. So I can work on a residential furnace, and a little later on I could go work on a 30, 40 million BTU boiler. There's no capacity limits on the ticket I have for gas, natural gas, and propane fired appliances. The other ticket I hold is now going right to the whole issue of Red Seal. So in Canada, there's a number of skilled trades that are classified as Red Seal trades. What that means is if you hold a license in that trade, you can work anywhere in Canada with it. It transfers across the provinces, or it would be the US equivalent, it would be interstate. It can travel across states.
I don't even know.
You're perfectly fine.
I do think it's similar in the States, not so much for there's certainly different gas licensing similar to in different states, I believe. I'm not certain about the other trades themselves. I mean, I don't think there's any certifications for like carpentry and stuff like that, but obviously electricity, gas, probably elements of plumbing, certainly, big industrial stuff like air conditioners, that I got to imagine that it's different state by state, especially considering how vastly different the U.S. states approach.
A number of different topics,
I suppose. Yeah.
Exactly. So I have a 313A refrigeration and air conditioning system mechanic license, which means there's two different kind of refrigerant tickets you can get in Canada. So one is called a 313D, which allows you to work on residential equipment. So you can work on equipment up to 5 tons of cooling capacity and only single phase electricity. So that's the vast majority of your residential air conditioners. The ticket I have allows me to work on single phase and 3-phase equipment with no tonnage limits. So I can work on a residential air conditioner or a 3-phase package rooftop air conditioner, say a 2-ton rooftop unit. And then 2 seconds later, I could go work on a 300-ton cooling capacity rooftop unit. Or I don't really work on chillers. If I had experience working on chillers, I could go work on, a centrifugal chiller that's thousands of tons of cooling capacity. It all depends on where you want to, focus and specialize your area of work within the industry, which my area is really focused in on doing equipment startup on semi-custom and custom air handling units. So a lot of rooftop units is where my main area of work is, and a lot of now a lot of heat pumps as well. So a lot of air source and some water source heat pumps in the line of work that I do.
How's the weather on the roof in the dead of Ontario winter?
It varies. So today we're hovering around the low 30s. Yes, I'm speaking Fahrenheit and I'm Canadian. I know.
You'll turn that Red Seal right in.
All my Red Seal training is taught in Fahrenheit. So we're in the low 30s today. Last week we were in the teens.
Like 6 or 7 Celsius, something like that.
Yeah, in and around 3 to 4 degrees today Celsius.
Okay. That's
whereas
reasonable compared to
last week it was minus 12, minus 13 Celsius. So we do get a big swing, not as cold as, the areas where Ty works, where it can, get into the minus 40s. And minus 40 Celsius and Fahrenheit are the same. That's where the two temperature scales meet and agree with each other.
Yeah, that's very cold is the only way I would describe that. It's incredibly cold. So
it's where we call it stupidly cold.
Yeah, that's just absurd. I mean, so Mike Sakaris, who he tells a story about interviewing our regional sales manager who lives in Calgary, and I think it was the singular coldest day, certainly of Mike's life. I want to say it was like 55 below or something like that with the wind. It was like 55, 60 below. Yeah, Canada gets pretty cold. So why not just move, why not refrigerate things outdoors is I guess the question.
Temperature control.
Oh, fair. All right. Yeah, I guess it is.
So there are ranges that products need to be stored within. Sometimes it's too cold outside for a product. It all depends on the application that you're looking to, refrigerate or cool or maintain a product at. For me, the vast majority of products that I'm working with are people inside buildings and keeping them either comfort cooled or comfort heated as well, and also controlling humidity levels as well, whether we need to add humidity using a humidifier or remove humidity through different processes, whether that be through using an air conditioning system with reheat to wring the moisture out of the air and deliver warm, dry air back into a space. All varies depending on where I'm working and the application specific for the application we're trying to go up and going for a customer.
That's amazing, and obviously you're deploying your vast knowledge of this sort of stuff on each different set of circumstances, and everything is going to be a little bit different. Like you said, welding one day or computer stuff the next day and stuff. So that's amazing. Now I have a significantly less technical, somewhat superficial question here, and that is, of course, about your fashion choices of the day, sir. You are decked out in a fine military green ensemble today. It appears you are wearing the classic HVAC tactical military green hoodie and a camouflage A-team hat. So what do these organizations mean to you, sir? I am personally a fan of both of these brands, I guess you could say. I mean, A-team is obviously I'm going to let you explain it. How'd you fit in? What are these things? Why are you so proudly adorned with them today?
Well, the tactical movement is something that a friend of ours, Mr. Ben Poole, had started. And for anybody that's not aware, just dive in and take a look. If you want a real good introduction into Ben's philosophy and mindset, I highly recommend checking out a recent podcast that he did with a friend of mine, Josh Zolan, Blue is the New White. Phenomenal interview, well worth taking your time to take a listen to it. HVAC Tactical, you don't get a better person, salt of the earth person than Ben. And what he's doing to give back to the industry is phenomenal, not just across the tactical award show the night before AHR, but just what he does to help out and mentor and teach each and everybody about his passion and his underlying philosophies of life. He's just a good person, great person to know, and I'm lucky to have crossed paths with Ben. So I wear his brand, his swag with pride and honor, hopefully representing it to make Ben proud as well.
So I echo all of those sentiments, and I too am just coincidentally wearing this today as well. I'm wearing the can you see that? I'm not sure.
Yep, the Flintstone version.
Like the Mike Flynn co-branded, read the manual, or I forget what it says on the back, but it's it's Flynn, who's another guy who shares that sort of professionalism, a guy I have a lot of respect for. But yeah, Ben and HVAC Tactical has been something that's obviously become a big part of my own life here with the magazine and all. And I share a lot of those sentiments. And Ben has become a very good friend of mine, someone who I talk to, almost every day at this point now. And he's done something similar to yourself here, which is like teach me a lot about the technical sides of the industry and things like that. And I'm, like I said, I don't come from this industry, so I don't have the background of any of this sort of stuff. So everything's kind of new to me, and I really appreciate when someone takes a little bit of time to kind of explain to a layperson so that I do understand changes in refrigerant and how some of this stuff works. So, I mean, it fits in very, very well with the tactical mindset, what you are doing even just here and what you do generally online and with your social media and stuff as well. So
I appreciate that.
Yeah, definitely part of the family, my friend. And it's, wear it proudly, of course. You were on stage last year giving away an award. Was it you and was it Angel on stage with you?
Yeah. Yes, it's Angel and I were giving away the award that wrong side, this way. that
It's there.
I
Clear.
was honored to have been nominated and receive at the 2023 awards show in Atlanta. So I
Yep.
had won the Lifeline Tech Award, given to a technician who goes that extra mile to help out other people that are stuck in the field.
Amazing.
So the product lines that I typically work on for a daily are products that some people don't necessarily see a lot of, and it's gaining more and more traction out in the field. But tech support hours are tech support hours, and sometimes people are working on the product outside of tech support hours. So I try to help out as many people as I can that give me a message on Instagram and help get them through whatever they're going through to the best of my ability. I don't
That's
have all
great.
the answers, but I do my best to try to help out.
Yeah, invaluable, and I know that you've helped people out, and it is something that that definitely Ben also recognizes. He's the kind of person who does that similar type of thing as well. So
Yep.
refresh my memory. Who did you bestow the last year's award upon?
So the winner of the 2024 award was Dylan Roper. So Dylan is a fellow Red Seal mechanic. He's out in the Vancouver area, runs similar territory to HVAC-J. So Dylan, great guy. Unfortunately, the night that I was to pass the proverbial torch over to him, he had a family emergency. So collectively among the Canadian technicians, we made sure that his award got out to him properly. I believe Dylan's going to be in Orlando to similarly pass the torch to the next technician.
Amazing. And that ties into going from the shirt to the hat here. Because what is it? Is it the Molson? Is it the any number of Canadian stereotypes that I can throw out here? Why is there such a amazing crop of not only like the kindest folks out there, but also generous professional techs, right? So one of the next things I want to ask you about is your experience in Miami with the rest of these guys. But you're wearing the A-team hat, which is like the creme de la creme of Canadian technicians and whatnot. What is it about Canada that there even exists an A-team like this? That there are so many incredibly knowledgeable, generous with their time. You dropped a bunch of names already in this thing. You talk about Gary McCready, Jason Norman, Dylan. I can go on and go on. We everybody knows Terrence. Colin Sadler is another person who would answer anybody's question and give them the shirt off his back. There's
Ty as well, who was just on
he was
a
our
couple
last
episodes
guest,
ago.
Yep. Yes, indeed. Ty's another perfect example. He doesn't come to mind immediately because he's more of a personal friend than someone in the Centrotherm Nebula, because he's not doing like heating installations at all, right? So I'm obviously I day-to-day work with people who do heating applications, but folks like yourself on the refrigeration side, or Ty on the refrigeration side, what is it about this that there is this A-team that exists?
Yeah, so let's lay out just exactly what the A-team is. So
beyond an incredibly clever pun.
Beyond a cleverly and wickedly good pun. So there's a manufacturer rep firm, Infra-Air HVAC, and they wanted to bring together social media personalities from all across the trades in Canada under one banner, and they came up with this idea of the A-team, kind of spoofing the 80s TV series where it was the letter A team with Mr. T and a bunch of other characters. So up here in Canada, we have a few of sayings. So instead of the A team, we're the A team, and it's a group of like-minded plumbers, HVAC technicians, electricians, Red Seal licensed people that just want to give back to the industry. And whether that be through making appearances at different trade shows or different events to help promote the trades, sharing our knowledge online, whatever have you, it's a way of having a group of that's under a collective mindset similar to Ben's tactical, key point bullets of the philosophy of HVAC tactical. And with the A team, I don't know if we can see on the hat, but elevate your trade, similar to master your craft,
Totally.
but similar philosophy. So we're not stealing Ben's entire philosophy set here, but it's a great group of people that we can bounce ideas back and forth off of. And
It
one
truly
person
is.
I chat a whole lot with is someone Centrotherm knows very well. And again, in my backyard is Tyler Dines.
Of course.
It's I have a lot of good conversations about just HVAC and hydronics in general. Awesome dude to drop another name.
Award winner as well.
Yep. Been
So I think he
team
won
with Canadians there.
Picture Perfect Award last year. I think that's what he won. I could be wrong, but I think that's what he won.
Yep, Picture Perfect install. The year before that was another Canadian, Mr. Ben Thompson, HVAC
Legend.
Strong.
Of course, another person who I absolutely adore. I mean, it's funny. All of these names, Tyler, somebody, and Ben, these guys are all people who I'm so lucky to have gotten to know pretty well over the years. And both Tyler, Ben wasn't able to make it, unfortunately, but Tyler was down there with you in Miami. Yep. And this is the second to last thing I want to talk to you about is what was your experience? Just, I mean, as someone who doesn't do a ton of like boiler fit ups and stuff like that, I don't think.
In a previous bit of my HVAC career, I'd worked a lot on commercial boilers.
Okay. So you're but so you get I assume you watched a little of the first one. You saw you were slightly aware of it just because it was kind of a nebulous on Instagram. So I'm just curious to get your perspective on announcement to qualification process and then your time down there. Like what was all that to you?
That was one heck of a ride, to say the least. I was honored to even be considered to, come down and partake in the events for Squid Games 2.0. It was, just mind-boggling that a, commercial startup and commissioning and service technician like myself would be included in the group of, ragtag rapscallions that got invited out to that awesome event. From just, initially putting my name in, being like, yeah, sure, whatever, I'm not getting picked, to, oh crap, now I got to go to Miami. Well, let's go, game on, let's do this. To the absolute amazing hospitality from everybody from Centrotherm for the events, from getting us there. I had a good little group of people that we flew down with. So I was flying with Tyler, who we were just talking about, Adam Gordon, who's been on your Mechanical Room podcast as well.
He's also got a plunger tattooed on his head at the event, of course.
Yep, that he did as well. Tyler's wife, Sarah, came with us as well.
Yes, indeed.
And Vader the plumber, Justin Vader, was in our group. Awesome. Absolutely. Awesome guy. Just watch out for his fingers.
Ontario team out there. It was nice that there was only a couple of times that we were able to put people together like on those flights. There was a group from like New Jersey. There was a group from like the Boston area. There was a group from like Vancouver.
Yep.
And then in Ontario, and everything else was kind of individual. Everybody, a lot of people traveling sort of solo. So it was nice when we can get everybody put together there too. So, well, glad you had a great time down there. I mean, we all had a blast, and it's something we're kicking around, what 3.0 might look like right now. So we don't know yet exactly.
A dance off between you and Roberto from PHVAC. There we go.
I do not. I'll enter it, but he will absolutely obliterate me in that, as well. Who's got some good moves too? Ben from Tactical. Yeah. He's got some breakdance maneuvers and stuff like that. So
when you get Louis in the mix as well.
Well, then it's over because we just give him the gold medal. Like that's it. I mean, just if we're talking about just based on quantity and volume alone, he's taking home the gold, man.
Exactly.
And visual spectacular, of course. I'll try to dig up some video of us rolling around late night in Miami in the Louis van as that was one of the highlights for me, of course, which was just getting in the back of the LED truck and just trooping it all over Miami, blasting the music and dancing in the back seat. You know, I was in the back, I was in the bed of the truck. You were in the cab with Louis. And well, we had quite an interesting
his
cruise.
entire back seat was speakers.
Yeah, it's just insane. Oh my God,
It
Louis
was
the best.
quite the ice cream run, to say the least.
It sure was. It sure was. And then we went down the main road, and I mean, it was obviously there's no way to do that without getting a lot of attention and the whole 9 yards. So,
exactly.
All right, so anyways, I've taken up a lot of your time. We always conclude with something that's a little bit less than directly from the mechanical room. Exactly. So we always want to know a little bit about, you know, the human being in the chair there, or the man behind the welding tools or whatnot. So, you know, I'm a big music guy, right? When you're at the job site, are you podcasting, or are you listening to, like, what's in the headphones, and what kind of music are you into, and what, you know, like, what's your favorite movie?
Well, in terms of what I'm listening to, typically don't have music going on a job. Got to be tuned in and listening to what the equipment's doing. So if I'm blaring music into my ears and there's something going wrong with a compressor and I can't hear that because I'm listening to a podcast or some music, well, not good things are going to happen. But
completely and utterly boring answer, but really a truly professional one.
But you know, drives to site and from site are occupied with a lot of podcasts and music. And
you mentioned Ty Brenneman already, so he's one, I'm assuming.
So
and Craig.
Definitely Ty, Brett Wetzel and Kevin Compass from Advanced Refrigeration Podcast. Obviously Gary, Tony Mormino from Insight Partners. His podcast, my friend Ryden Atzenhofer from HVAC R&D.
And he's down in like the Carolinas, I want to say, right?
Yep. So Ryden and Tony actually work for the same company together.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay, amazing.
They both work for Insight Partners, which is a Aon rep firm. So that's how we're kind of all connected together in the Aon multiverse, as it were.
Okay, I didn't know that.
Music-wise, a little bit of everything from, you know, classic rock to modern rock to metal to hip hop to dance, whatever the mood feels like for that day.
All right. So who are your favorite? Who do you find that you're going back to frequently?
Recently, it's been always circle back to Rival Sons, which they're a kind of more like Southern rock band out of California. So I got a lot of more like gospel, like Southern gospel, like rock feel to them, and classic rock feel. Who else am I circling around to these days? The musician I sent you a little video of, video clip over Instagram, Miss Sarah Sleen, Canadian musician with
personal connection to her as well.
Awesome performer. Classics like Rush, AC/DC, Guns N' Roses, to just really anything that pops up.
What's one that you think might surprise people?
Please
don't say Taylor Swift.
No, I'm not HVAC J. I don't need Swifty music for my chillers. Not a chiller Swifty, but I don't know. Recently been enjoying, well, not recently, but for the past half year, Gojira quite a bit.
Oh, sure. Okay. Yeah.
That might be one that comes out of left field for some people.
Sure. For some people, yeah. I mean, absolutely. Awesome. What about, all right. And then the last thing is, what's your number one favorite movie of all time?
Favorite movie? That is a great question. I'll put Shawshank Redemption up there.
Can't go wrong with that. I mean, that's a classic. I mean, have you ever read the short story?
Unfortunately, no, I haven't.
I've not
I
read.
have to pick that up.
And it's interesting because I'm curious, given some of the different, Shawshank is just such a masterpiece, and it's so kind of ubiquitous, right? It's like the kind of thing that's like it's always on TV somewhere. you learn little facts about how, the nickname Red for Morgan Freeman sort of became ironic because he was originally like supposed to be like a redheaded Irish guy, or rather the short story is a redheaded Irish guy as the as the Red character and stuff like that. And I mean, such a masterpiece movie that is a guaranteed tears for me every single time that I'm fascinated. I should, I've never read the short story either, and I'm curious about it.
Mm-hmm. So going back to how you and Mike closed out your interview with Ty, Ice Master Ty, you guys had made mention of wanting to bring on someone that had some knowledge in the air conditioning world, like Jess or Ben. Sorry you got me.
No,
I apologize. I'm kidding.
No, this was fantastic, man. We went a little deeper. I think, I think it helps that we kind of did this one-on-one because it really lets you opine a little bit about, and get into the depth of, I mean, I now understand the classification systems a lot
Yep.
better than I did before. I think Ty hit on that a little bit, but
we're
going very fast. So, it's natural to move from topic to topic to topic. So I'm glad we
Yep.
took a beat here and sort of explain that to a layperson.
I'll hit you with one more before we wrap up that is kind of tied into the classification. So we hear the term GWP a lot, global warming potential, right?
Okay.
So global warming potential refers to, and this is why we're making a transition in the refrigerants predominantly. So global warming potential refers to how much basically heat a refrigerant is going to absorb and leave up in the atmosphere, which contributes to global warming. Now, global warming potential is rated based off of a natural refrigerant, CO2. So CO2 has a global warming potential of 1. So the refrigerant we talked about before, R410A, that's getting phased out, that has a global warming potential over 2,000. Now, let's put that into comparison here for a second. So if you release 1 pound of R410A into the atmosphere, the amount of heat that comparable heat absorbed for CO2, you would have to release 2,000 pounds of CO2 up into the atmosphere. So the legislations that we're following across North America and a large portion of the world is the new refrigerants have to have a global warming potential of under 750. So the 2 new refrigerants we mentioned at the beginning are new. They've been around for over 10 years. R32 and R54B have global warming potential values under 750.
Okay.
Hopefully that clarifies the global warming potential term that Ty was trying to get to as well.
Clearly it glossed right over me because I didn't even notice it, and I was like, all right, I'm not even bothering to delve into this one. We're all over the place on that one. So
yep. Bring it back circle to the whole A2L transition.
Perfect. Yes, we've completed the cycle here, and as such, it's a great time to let you get back to your day. Doctor, it's always a pleasure, my friend. I appreciate you taking some time explaining this sort of stuff and telling us a little bit about what you do in the day to day, and sort of just chatting about the world of HVAC and really giving some insight into the Canadian sort of perspective overall and how what goes on and how you get to where you are. So I really appreciate that. It's always a pleasure to chat with you, sir, and we'll be in touch real soon.
Likewise. Thanks again for all your time, Matt. Have a good day, brother.